exactly 6 women acted, each in her turn, as its project supervisors, from the time of its construction to that of its renovation. Chenonceau was begun by Catherine Brissonnet, who erected it on the piers of a mill, and it found its true destiny when Diane de Poitiers ordered a bridge built spanning the Cher. Its final version came into being when Catherine de Médicis conceived the idea of constructing a gallery on the bridge. Chenonceau was too attractive a place for the court to be bidden there, except for the lavish entertainments that Catherine de Médicis managed to provide despite the troubled times, the insecurity of the highways, and the perpetual deficit of the royal treasury. And Chenonceau in itself is also a feast, the most admirable insertion of architecture and gardens in an aquatic landscape, and doubtless the only dramatic events that occurred here were the sheddings of tears by all the women who had to bid it farewell, forced to flee because of financial ruin, falling from grace, or widowhood. Intangible and graceful, miraculously protected from history's turmoil, Chenonceau, thanks to Madame Dupin, who was Jean-Jacques Rousseau's hostess here, emerged unscathed from the upheavals of the Revolution, with virtually all of its interior decorations and furniture intact. Thus, this fragile house on the river, impassive and aloof, allows time and events to glide by with the same utter tranquility as the Cher River that flows beneath its arches. Its decoration and furnishings, the art objects and paintings, prompt us to dream that here nothing can change no matter what happens, and that its many different owners were merely the servants or slaves of some mysterious prodigy. Court life, which had begun in the Loire Valley with Charles VII and Agnès Sorel, continued here during the reign of Henry II, whose mistress, Diane de Poitiers, and wife, Catherine de Médicis, fought over this abode, one of the most original ones in the whole world. The singular splendor and the unique ambiance of Chenonceau stem from the fact that it was neither entirely a royal dwelling, nor, of course, entirely the dwelling of an ordinary citizen. A queen's dwelling is not a king's dwelling. In a queen's dwelling, luxury develops with more grace and less pomp and display, and the decoration here is less designed to dazzle the beholder than to make him linger. This may well be what ensures Chenonceau of its abidingness as compared with the showy, overly political aesthetics of power. And it was no doubt Catherine de Médicis who first realized that men are governed by beauty. Five queens of France, fleeting shadows, some of whom we know only through their portraits, have lent their names to this formal bedchamber. It is this room, or the adjoining one, that evokes memories of Ronsard, a courtier and the Prince of Poets, who was frequently responsible for arranging the memorable entertainments staged at Chenonceau by Catherine de Médicis in honor of her 3 sons who became kings of France. No matter. The echoing names that grace these bedrooms, those of Gabriel d'Estrées, Henry IV's favorite, or of César de Vendôme, their son, evoke only the transient guests of an evanescent history. Should we admit that this marvel is unfinished? This gallery was designed to span the river in order to lead to another building that would have been symmetrical to the one on the opposite bank of the Cher. The Philibert de Lorme Gallery, with the idea of two buildings joined at an angle by a wing, heralded the pure, regular outlines of the classical style. Of this style, one of the most perfect examples is the Chateau of Cheverny, which dates from the early 17th century. Hureau de Cheverny was the son of one of Henry IV's chancellors. He was exiled to his home territory, which has just been made into an earldom, and he caused this chateau to be built in a single undertaking, no doubt to help himself forget about his fall from grace. Indeed, the luxuriousness of his noble residence expressed sheer nostalgia. It is a kingly dwelling without a king. The Countess of Cheverny, in a portrait by Mignard, casts an Olympian gaze on the impeccable setting that she has been protecting for 3 centuries. The interior of the chateau is in every respect the most outstanding and most perfect example of the Louis XIII style existing in France. It forms, at the end of our itinerary, the end of a certain evolution in the art of living. The majestic equilibrium of the decoration testifies to a hitherto unknown degree of comfort, and the leatherwork, woodwork, fabrics, and painted panels add warmth to the lines of a style whose fullest flowering would not come about until Versailles. It is hard to say whether all these sumptuous details were a species of consolation for the Count of Cheverny's fall from grace, but the dining room decoration is a tribute to a secret dream life, with scenes from Don Quixote done by Jean Monnier, one of the painters of Beauregard, and with a superabundance of heraldic bearings which make Cheverny seem somehow chimerical. The fine painted decorations and the tapestries in the guardroom prompt the conclusion that the master of this estate felt himself to be a nobleman of no minor rank, for in no royal palace had such a room ever displayed such magnificence. Here, in the inevitable royal bedroom, the luxury is sheerly prodigious. It is the ideal model of all the bedrooms that were going to be installed during the next 2 centuries, and it has remained unoccupied. It seems to have been designed in honor of some imaginary monarchy, but no monarch ever deigned to occupy the king's bedroom. In addition to all this, Cheverny is also, and perhaps most importantly, the art of the hunt. Not only because this chateau houses a museum of hunting, but also because traditional hunting for the hounds still goes on here, and the actual pack is still very much in evidence. As we come to the end of our journey, let us render homage to the hunt, since so many of these beloved chateaux owe their very existences to it by the grace of the royal hunters who erected them or embellished them for the sole purpose of pursuing the stag through the forests, fields, and ponds of the Loire Valley. Let us take another glance at these chateaux, not for their historical content, but for their secret life, their dream life that is brought to them through the sound and light shows in summer. And on these lovely banks of the Loire, which, in the words of Balzac, bear the marks of royal tenderness from place to place, we will let the play of light silently proclaim the glory of these beloved stones, which are singled out and transfigured by a perpetually ongoing feast, and which are, to again quote Balzac, a complete, accurate picture of the great representation of the customs and lives of nations that we call architecture.